Today is the International Elephant Day, August 12th, 2022. So first of all, we would like to say Happy International Elephant Day to all elephants in the world and elephant fans like us. So to talk about elephants, I could not find a better person other than Dr. Vijitha Perera, who's a wildlife veterinarian affiliated to the Department of Wildlife Conservation and also the chief vet at the Elephant Transit Home in Sri Lanka. And also he was awarded the Global Animal Welfare Award recently by the World Veterinary Association this March. And I would like to say that he's an author to 6 books related to elephant matters. In addition, I would love to welcome Marina Lopez, my dearest friend, who recently graduated with the Bachelor of Science in Animal Conservation and Biology. Welcome, Dr. Vijitha and Marina. First of all, to the general audience, if you could give us a brief explanation on the evolvement of elephants. And today we see 2 different groups of elephants. One is African elephants and the other one is Asian elephants. Could you please give us a brief description on those 3 subjects? Dr. Vijitha.
Yeah. Thank you. We are going to talk about the elephant. It is very important to know about them, even in evolution. And we all know that the largest terrestrial mammals in the world is elephant right now. So we all know that they are spread in Africa and Asia. So African species are the largest. So in Africa, you can find 2 elephant species, savanna elephant and forest elephant. So savanna elephant is the largest in the world. So in the world, the largest terrestrial mammal is the African elephant, the savanna African elephant. So the other elephant is the forest elephant in Africa, and they too are very big, but is the second largest. And apart from the 2 African species, we have only other one species that we call Asian elephant. It is live in the Asia. So you said that it is evolution. So in the evolution, if you go to the origin of this animal, the elephants we are describing from 5 million years ago, and so this group, the group that elephant is belonging, we call Elephantidae. So in currently we have 3 species. All other species that belong to that group has extinct from the world. So the recent extinction is the mammoth. It was happened about 5,000 years ago. The last animal has lost from us. So that way they extinct. So it is these kind of animals. Those are extinct from their life throughout the evolutions. So therefore they are very unique. That's why we have no other species to say that these are very close relative of the elephants. Only 2 species we are still telling that. One is the sea manatees, sea cows. Yeah. They have some relationship with these elephants. And other one is the hyrax. Nobody believes that hyrax is kind of animal like the size-wise, rabbit size. But it is the other animals, we say that it has some evolutionary relationship. Otherwise, these animals are coming in a unique way. But same time, most of the members of this group extinct from the world. Therefore, these are very unique. Elephants are very unique when we get the global context as animals.
Yeah. So, is there any reason why African elephants have kind of different shape of ears, and the Asian elephants are like more round in shape. Are there any reasons associated with biological, geographical, or climate, or is it just the nature?
Yeah, mostly it is the nature of the animal, because in the evolution we say that the propose is that the trunk become very long. This is the reason and like that. But I mostly think it is the nature. So they all adjust to their environment to live, to survive. Survival factors are the more important for every species. For survival, they need special adaptation. So time-wise, they were adapted. So if we get the big ears of the African species, so most of them are living in the dry situation. So they are under tropical environment, and so they need to nice heat balance system. So as a regulator, so heat regulator, the ears are working. They flap and all the circulations are happening through the ear veins and arteries, so they can easily release the excess heat from the ears like that way. So they are big, and same time they need long task for get debarking and getting some mud from the soil and like that things. They need that kind of adaptations. Even their skin to adjust with the parasites and other, even they increase their space for this, they are sinking of this. So like that way, there are many adaptations. So they all are support them to survive better in their environment. Yeah.
We can check about elephants in Sri Lanka now. So according to my knowledge, there are again two categories: wild elephants and captive elephants. And if you look at the map, all the red dots are about the elephant distribution around the country. I think mainly regarding wild elephant distribution. So with respect to both categories, so what are the advantages and disadvantages maybe that they are facing, maybe different sort of issues, and also, some good things. For example, being a wild elephant, maybe it's quite about, the freedom, compared to a captive elephant. So how do you define those categories?
Yeah, if you consider Sri Lanka, it is not a big country. If you go to the world map, you can see tip of the edge where India. There are tiny drop of that. It is only 65,000 square kilometers country. But if you get as you show in the red dots, you can see whole country is covered with the elephants. Their distribution is country-wise. But you can see many missing dots, many areas their dots are missing. That means there are no more elephants in these areas. Mm-hmm. So in the earlier, historically, the whole country, you would find elephants. So especially when the European, they come to our colonial people, when they come to Sri Lanka and they invade the country, at that time we had elephants all over the country. But we had passed about 350 years under the colonial time period. So at that time period, the elephants are extinct locally from many areas. So all the area where there are no red dots are that area we can see. Even after the getting the freedom of this country, sovereignty, from 1948 up to now, we lost another 15% of the area, the locally extinct. So therefore no place for them to live there. Now you can see they like a belt in the dry zone. They are spreading all over the country. But day by day, their areas are declining. So they lost their habitats and they are in very big pressure. So in the worldwide, you can find in the world, we have around 50,000 wild elephants in Asia.
Uh-huh.
So out of that 50,000, we have around 6,000 elephants in Sri Lanka. So this is a big number compared to the world numbers. And this under this 6,000, the area they are occupied are compared to other places are very dense. So the density of the elephants are highest in Sri Lanka.
Oh.
And even the recent studies found that the elephant areas, those we don't see the red dots, are occupied by the people. So 69% of that areas, you can find the human settlement. So elephants are live with the human. So that way the wild populations are in big trouble, but not only from the side of the elephants and even from the human side also. So if people has to live with the elephants and elephant has to live with the people. So both need a lot of resources from the environment and water and food and everything. So there are competitions and the conflict between them. So like that way, our wild populations are, we can describe that way. But in the other time, the captive elephants in the country, they are much popular historically. They were 100,000 like that we are describing the historical numbers. But now they are declining very low, and it is about 150 captive elephants in the country now. So we have another group, semi-captive elephants. They are in the penal elephant orphanage. There are around 100 elephants there. So totally the captive population, we can say about 230 to 250. So they are declining day by day because except elephant orphanage in Pinnavala, other places you can't see the breeding. So therefore their numbers are declining. So that's the situation. In the captive, actually, earlier they were used for logging and other kind of activities. But nowadays they are mostly for religious and ceremonial animals. And same time they are involving in the tourist activities. So they are elephant safaris and just to that kind of activities are developing now.
Yeah, so when we talk about elephants in Sri Lanka, I forgot to ask you first, so we know Sri Lankan elephants are Asian elephants. Do we find any uniqueness in Sri Lankan elephants compared to Indian and Thailand elephants?
Yeah, when we talking about taxonomy, when they are describing them, we say that basically there are 3 subspecies in Indian mainland and in the Sumatra, that Indonesia, that area, and in Sri Lanka. So in our elephant, we call Elephas maximus. That's a unique subspecies. Oh. So it is mainly some morphological features are considered in this subgrouping. And same time, when you find the genetically, now even recent genetic studies not support that much for this kind of subspecies diversification between these animals. Because you can see there's even subspecies can cross each other and they can breed together. But that is happening there. And same times, except the morphological changes, we find that the Sri Lankan elephants are the animals who have the size-wise they are big. And at the same other way, they are if you get the percentage of animals, males who are possessing the tusk are very less in Sri Lankan elephant population.
Okay.
If you consider the Asian, that Indian, they are around 70% of males have tusk. They are tuskers. But if you come to Sri Lanka, it is about 5 to 7% of them have tusk. So therefore, there are a lot of differences between them, but most of them are morphological. So genetic diversification are very low. At the same time, if you find the genetic pool, the Sri Lankan has the highest genetic richness. So genetic pool is their genetic richness is very unique and compared to other Asian elephant species. So that's the thing. And except these 3, now we are talking about the Borneo elephants. Bony elephants are more unique than others. They compare with these three subspecies. The bony elephants are genetically very unique with other mainland species. So therefore, now we have suggestion that bonian should be a subspecies. So therefore, in the same time, these three we can't genetically we can't say they are distinguished enough information about genetical information to categorize them as subspecies.
Why we need conservation? And when we talk about conservation, is it just about the wild elephants, or do you count captive elephants as well? And how do you process in that task regarding elephant conservation?
Yeah, actually, when we are talking about conservation, it needs when people are around. Oh. If people are around, that means conservation. Yeah. So therefore, as I tell you in the earlier slides, that the distribution of elephants were all over the country once, but later the the human population are increased, but not only increased, they have exploit the natural nature. So the land belong to the other wildlife. So that way they spread their settlements and a lot of plantations and other kind of development activities, invade the animals areas, wildlife areas. So that way the problem arises. So because of our anthropogenic activities, now we are talking about the conservation, because we know that now that when we are expanding our development and other kind of activities, human activities, there is no way to wildlife to survive. At the same time, now people understood that we can't live alone, because if something happened to the nature, that came back to us, and we can't survive in that situation. So we need some balance, both human, animal, and people wise. So therefore, now we talk about the conservation. Now we take a lot of activities. So in Sri Lanka, when you are talking about conservation of elephants, so elephants are doing everything well, and they are surviving, and they are breeding, and they are doing everything. But there are problems. They can't do it freely and according to their wish, because of the influences by human beings. So human beings are disturbing all the way for them. So in the conservation now, what we have to do is minimize the influences made by human to the animal, to the elephant. So in the conservation things, now we have to protect their habitats and minimize the harm made by people to the animals. And like that way, that kind of things we have to, we do as a conservation. And Sri Lanka has very powerful legal system we call Fauna and Flora Protection Ordinance. So that's the ordinance we use to conserve this wildlife. So elephants are get special protection from that ordinance. So there are a lot of rules and regulations when we are working with elephants, and so we have to apply for their conservation. So the conservation works made by the government, the Department of Wildlife Conservation, where we are working, is the government institute who are dealing this conservation of the wild elephants.
So a question just came to my mind. Like when we talk about conservation of elephants, I think it's important to understand their natural behavior. Like I recall, I read somewhere, an elephant is supposed to walk several miles per day. So I don't remember the exact number, maybe 8 to 22 kilometers, if I'm not wrong. What's it's like their lifestyle and their natural behavior, walking and getting together as a herd, and then again moving from one location to another. So how does it affect these conservation protocols? Because elephants do not understand that this particular area is associated for themselves, and they're not allowed to walk beyond this national park margin or something like that. So could you please give us, share your knowledge with us about the natural behavior of animals? Yeah. Elephants.
Yeah, again, this is something we have different opinions. People say that they are walking a lot, and they are some say that miles and the kilometers wise, as you said. But everything depends on the nature of the animal, because in the nature, when the animals are living, they have two essential needs. One thing is survival. The second one is reproduction.
Yeah.
So everything depends on these two factors. So they do whatever for their survival. They do whatever for their reproduction. So that's the basic factors that govern the elephant movements. So in that situations, elephants are the giant species, so they need a lot of resources, food, water, and everything. And for their survival, they need a lot of land space. So land space, and same time, so there are some areas the resources are rich, and some areas the resources are very poor. But if they live long time for in the resource rich area, within very short times, that area become a poor area, because they are selective breeders. So they are very preferences of food items and areas. So if they use them extensively, that make trouble to them. That the vegetation of the area, so that make trouble. So therefore, so they naturally they have to move one place to other place. So they can't live one place for a year round. So that gives the interval for the other vegetation and other structures to regenerate and develop in some level, and then they can come back and again. So therefore, that's why we say that animal need a lot of area, and same time they are moving one place to other place. So that requirement is always there for the elephants, and therefore they are moving. So there are the other problem is other thing is they have no rules to say that they need to walk this much of distance per day and average things, because if the resources are very rich, they don't need to go somewhere. Because if you find in Sri Lanka, in some places you can see the very popular area gathering. So at that time you can see 300, 400 elephants are living in very small area. In that time the movement are very, very, very low, because they just come to the grassland for eating and then go to the under the trees for getting rest. So like that way they can meet other herds and males to females, and like that way the family friends and old friends, and like that everybody's there. So they don't need to move here and there. So the grasslands are very rich at that time, and they have enough grass and everything. So it's like something like holidays for us, and we are going to the hotel and go to the beach and coming back, and like that way. So at that time, if someone say that elephants are moving lot, and it is not true at that time.
Okay.
But in some situations, when the rain comes and then all the grassland are submerged, then animals are nowhere, then they start moving. At that time, sometimes some groups are moving about 100 kilometers to some other places to find good environment, like that way. So, and when they are in the poor areas, resource poor area, they have to move for the food for some more distance and for water. So like that way, their movement are very high compared to the resource rich area. So that's why they have to move. But in the same time, the movement is essential for their survival. Otherwise, they are always in trouble. The nature not allow them to stay one place.
For the doctor, you said that Sri Lankan elephants are quite unique genetically. Obviously, with genetics, a very important part that I'm aware of is, the spread of disease, and being unique in terms of genetically speaking can be beneficial to populations, especially wild populations, when it comes to disease. So my question is, do you think that Sri Lankan elephants are potentially a very important kind of subspecies when it comes to things like breeding or increasing numbers due to that uniqueness that they have within their kind of DNA?
Yes, in that manner, actually, Sri Lankan elephants are, for one is special things, maybe they are genetically richness, because their numbers are very high and they all are genetically related each other. All the populations are not directly, but as a chain link, they have direct link. So their genetic pool is very rich. So that way they are developing, and same times, in one way it may be genetic violation, because some Indian elephants, we have historical records that Indian elephants are coming to Sri Lanka as a dowry of some queen, that when the kings get a new marriage from India, as a dowry they get the elephants. So that way they come and they are mixing with our population there. So the island population, that way they are, one way it make the richness, genetic richness increase, and same time it violates the genetic richness. So that way they are developing, and their breeding and other kind of things are really good. So if you find the elephant herd structures, there are many babies, and like that we can predict that their breeding is really good. But nowadays, with this complex situation and the resource availability, they are in big trouble. And though we say that genetically they are richness is helping them to overcome the disease and other kind of hazards. When the density is increasing, it is natural to come some health problems, and now we are experiencing them now. So if you find many parasitic diseases are spreading among this population, and they are impacting them. So the parasites are part of the nature, but anyway, you can see many mortalities of baby elephants due to parasites. And we recently found that elephant endothelial herpes virus is there now. So it is making trouble there, and even human tuberculosis, it is spreading and it is existing in the wild population. That way problem are there. But in another study, we have found that though if you go to Europe and USA, they say that the captive elephant populations, the major threat is the elephant endothelial herpes virus, because most of the baby elephants, those born under captivity, they are dying due to this disease. But in Sri Lanka, especially when we do it with our population in the animals in the elephant transito, we found that virus is there, but there are no mortalities among these elephants due to elephant endothelial herpes virus. But if you go to the Europe system, in USA, there are some 40 to 70% of animals are dying due to this problem now, the new births. But it is not a big problem for this wild population. So that shows that they are genetically, they are really good, and they are experienced that the exposure of this virus and other kind of things make them more, they can actually resist this kind of diseases. So that way we can say the genetic richness is favorable for their existence and their conservation. Yeah, that's something related to health and genetic richness. Yeah.